So continuing our discussion on mitzvahs DeRabbanan, on the Koach HaChachamim, so the Gemara tells us in Yevamos, Yesh Koach Biyad Chachamim La'akor Dvar Torah B'Shevi Al Taseh, that the Chacham have the power to uproot a mitzvah. So the classical case is when Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos, the rabbis say no shofar today, no Daled Minim today, and no Megillah. That's not such a kasha because Heim Amru B'Heim Amru. Megillah is only DeRabbanan, perhaps with different Kabbalah, so if the rabbis tell you to do something, it's not a chiddush, they can tell you not to do something. But the chiddush is that the rabbis can tell me not to do a mitzvah min HaTorah. And then it's a discussion in the Gemara that some even say even b'kum v'aseh, even actively going against the Torah. But we assume only b'sheiv al taseh, only by merely telling you not to do it. So the question is, when we say the Chacham have the power to uproot a mitzvah, what does that mean exactly? How much power do these rabbis have? So in other words, the Gemara, and we started Mesechet Brachas, I guess close to 3 weeks ago. I think we're on Daf Yud Ches Yud Tes today. So there's the Mishnah in the beginning of Brachas. The Gemara, the Mishnah talks about the Sov Zman Kriyas Shema, the last time to say Kriyas Shema at night. So one opinion is the first Ashmura, the second one the Chachamim say Chatzos. I think that was Rabbi Eliezer. The second one is Chatzos, and the third one is Rabbi Gamliel Alos HaShachar. And the Chachamim say you should finish by Chatzos, L'harkek Adam in Aveira. There's a famous Rabbeinu Yonah on the beginning of the Masechta. According to the Chachamim, what happens if you miss Chatzos? Because is Chatzos a lichatchila or a b'di'evet? In other words, the Pashtus HaMishnah is really you have until Alos HaShachar. Pashtus you have until dawn, but the rabbis want you to do it, not to forget, so they told you to do it early. Rabbeinu Yonah writes a lot more strong, much more strongly. He says, according to the Chachamim, he quotes one about Birkas Kriyas Shema, but Rabbeinu Yonah is quoted as saying that once, according to the Chachamim, once you pass Chatzos, that's it. You can't even fulfill your mitzvah min HaTorah anymore. In other words, so Rabbeinu Yonah is saying, or it seems to be saying, that the Chachamim have the power even to uproot a mitzvah min HaTorah. In other words, they're saying even min HaTorah, you don't get the mitzvah of Kriyas Shema. Clearly, the Chachamim can say midrabanan, you don't get the mitzvah of Kriyas Shema, but to say that you can't get even the mitzvah min HaTorah, that's what Rabbeinu Yonah says. So, actually, this is a major discussion in the Rishonim and in the Achronim, this Nakuda, whether when the Torah gives us a mitzvah, and then the rabbis give parameters to the mitzvah, so if I don't listen to what the rabbis have to say, so I'm clearly in violation of the mitzvah midrabanan. But do I get a fulfillment of the mitzvah min HaTorah? So for instance, the Beis Yosef writes, we were discussing Birkas Hamazon the past couple of weeks. Birkas Hamazon is clearly a mitzvah min HaTorah. Ve'achalta v'savato ve'rachta. However, the text of the Birkas Hamazon is clearly only DeRabbanan. In fact, Pashtus, when they were in the Midbar, they probably only said the first bracha, Hazon HaSakol. And then they added on Yehoshua, Eretz Yisrael, David and Shlomo. So min HaTorah, kind of like the Rambam writes by Tefillah. You could be Yotzei with your own words, and you might need certain requirements, Shevach Bakasha, but your own words. The text of Anshe Kedushas Gedolah, that was added on later on. So the question is, let's say I decide, you know what, I want to daven, but not the text of the Shemona Esrei. I'll daven, I'll ask God in my own words, and instead of the Shemona Esrei. So, do I get, according to the Rambam, do I get my mitzvah min HaTorah? Do I say, now that the Chachamim told me how to daven, so I'm changing the text of the Chachamim, and whoever changed the text of the Chachamim, it's a serious issue. That's what the Beis Yosef, the Minchas Chinuch, raises by Birkas Hamazon. He says, Birkas Hamazon, you thank God. You have gratitude, so such a mitzvah in our Torah. There's no text to it. The Chachamim put a text to it. So now let's say I want to bench not using the text of the Chachamim. Could I fulfill my mitzvah in our Torah? I clearly don't fulfill the mitzvah midrabanan because I'm not doing what the Rabbi said, but do I still get a kiyam in our Torah? So first the Minchas Chinuch raises midrabanan you're not yotzei, but in our Torah you are. And then he quotes the Pri Megadim in the Psicha Kolelos and says, perhaps even min ha-Torah you're not yotzei. That's the Pri Megadim Shita. The Pri Megadim is discussing it in many areas, but where it comes up is by Kiddush Friday night. There's a famous kasha of the Dagul Meravava, the Nod of Yehuda, that the Dagul Meravava on the Shulchan Aruch writes that we know, the Gemara tells us in Brachas, actually Daf Yomi, maybe it's today, even tomorrow, Daf Chaf, that Nashim Chayavis Bekiddush Hayom Dvar Torah. Women are obligated in the mitzvah of Kiddush Min Torah. It's a mitzvah Saseh Shazman Grama. Kol Sheyeshtum B'Shmira, Yeshtum B'Zechira. Whoever's included in Shmira Shabbos is included in Zechira Shabbos. So clearly, women are chayiv in Kiddush Min Torah. So the Dagul Meravava asked the famous kasha. It's less of a question today, but still a question today, because many more women daven today. Some go to shul, some daven at home. But assuming that the husband davens and the woman does not, that's the assumption of the Dagul Meravava. So when a husband comes back from shul or finishes davening Ma'ariv, so we pass like the Rambam that you yotze your mitzvah min Torah with words alone. Even though midrabanan they instituted al yayin, but kiddush b'dvarim is the mitzvah min Torah. So therefore, the Magen Avraham writes, when we daven Shmoneh Esrei Friday night, Mekadesh HaShabbos, we fulfill our mitzvah min Torah of kiddush. So the famous kasha of Dagul Meravava is, how could a husband who just daven Ma'ariv go home now and make kiddush for his wife or any other woman who hasn't davened yet? He's only chayav midrabanan because he fulfilled his mitzvah min Torah of kiddush, and he only has the chayav drabanan of kiddush al yayin, while his wife has the chayav min Torah of kiddush. And we know the general klal is a chayav drabanan cannot be motzi a chayav daraisa. So there are many answers to the Dagul Meravava's kasha. Dagul Meravava says you're right. The woman should daven. He was ahead of his times. He said, let the woman daven, it's not an issue. Others suggest that you should have negative kavanah in Shmoneh Esrei, not to be yotzei the chatam sofer. If you don't have a mind to fulfill your mitzvah of kiddush, but the mitzvah ain't tzrichas kavanah, and therefore you're not yotzei. The Minchas Chinuch suggests that the Knan Akasha, you're not yotzei, because the Gemara tells us in Arvei Psachim, to fulfill your mitzvah of Kiddush, you need Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim as well. And since we don't have Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim in the Kiddush, therefore it's not a kasha, you're not yotzei. You're not yotzei, you're still chayav in Torah. The kasha on the Minchas Chinuch would be when it's Yantif. It's a Yantif Shechol B'Shab, when you have then you do mention it. Someone would say maybe Smichas Gul. But that's the kasha. So perhaps we have another answer based on the Pri Megadim. It's not a kasha. When you want to daven in Shmoneh Esrei, we mean yotzei in Kiddush b'dvarim. But Chazal told us that you have to do Kiddush al yayin. So you're going against the Takana DeRabbanan. So you're not even yotzei you're not yotzei your mitzvah min Torah in the Friday night davening, because you're going against the Takana's Chazal, and therefore it's not a problem at all. So there the Pri Megadim and other Achronim discuss what is the relationship between mitzvahs d'Rabbanan and mitzvahs d'Oraisa. Maybe sometimes if you only do the d'Oraisa without d'Rabbanan, it's nothing, and other times maybe the d'Rabbanan is so perhaps we'll have to give another share going through perhaps different mitzvahs, and you'll come out with different conclusions. But that's the Pri Megadim in terms of that min Torah. Perhaps you're not even yotzei. So that'd be the same thing. That's the same as Rabbeinu Yonah. Rabbeinu Yonah came first. Rabbeinu Yonah writes the same yisod in the beginning of brachas that we see. According to this yisod, the chacham have a power to oker the mitzvah lagamrei. You do not get your mitzvah of Kriya Shema, which is difficult anyway to say, but Rabbeinu Yonah says it. The Achronim ask on Rabbeinu Yonah, Bishloma, they tell you not to do chacham oker a mitzvah. They want to prevent you from doing a worse aveira, i.e., not to blow shofar today, not to shake lulav, we're afraid of chilul Shabbos. But what's the concern here? That we say once you miss chatzos, you can't daven Kriyas Shema anymore. But now what? So I'm going to miss Kriyas Shema. What am I gaining by it? So someone maybe holds that's better to miss Kriyas Shema one time, so you remember to do it. But it's against the general cloud. It's a big. Rabbi Yonah says it, so it's right. But it's that's, many don't like the Rabbi Yonah because it seems to go against the general rule. Even if you say the Chachamim can be oker a mitzvah, it's usually to prevent a worse avera. But here it doesn't. What do you actually? What's the concern here? It's not going to lead to any Yisod Daraisa. So, but either way, Rabbi Yonah says it, and we have that Yisod. That's the Yisod. We'll get into more by Shofar as well. But when we get into Yom Shua, Zichron Shua, but that was the famous case. That was a couple 150 years ago. So in Yerushalayim, one of the great, big Talmid Chacham, one of the rabbis decided when Rosh Hashanah fell out on Shabbos, he's going to blow shofar. Yes, because based on the Gemara says, we know b'mikdash hayutokin. So Yerushalayim, perhaps the old city is the mikdash, and now when they moved out, maybe it's b'makam based in. You don't need a. So basically, he had halachic sources based on a riff. We didn't pass in that way, but the shaila was, should I go and try to listen to him? I'm not going to blow shofar in my shul, but should I try to go to his shul? I'm actually have to end up doing it at the end, or because there's a lot of big macha. But in theory, should I try to get to that shul? Because what's the harm? Hear some shofar blowing, like get some kiyum. That was a whole big tumult in Yerushalayim that year. So what's in the kudah? What's in the kudah? Whether I should even attempt to go? Because the shaila, it's this issue, is when the Torah says to blow shofar today, the rabbis say not to. So let's say someone goes against the DeRabbanan and blows shofar. Is there a kiyum mitzvah or not? So if there's no kiyum mitzvah, so what's the point then? You're not gaining anything. If I can fulfill a mitzvah in our Torah, so then then there's what to talk about. That's that seems to be Rabbi Kiva Eger seems to be going with that mahalach, that there is some type of kiyum min Torah even against the prima gal. But that and that we find by sukkah and many other mitzvahs in terms of any time you have the rabbis telling you to go against the mitzvah min Torah, how much power do they have? Could they okay the mitzvah l'gamrei? Well, no, they can tell me not to do it, but they can't stop the mitzvah. The mitzvah m'kom omedes. In fact, so I want to bring down what is this issue here in this suffix of the minchas chinuch, this prima gadin. What's in the kudah here? Whether the chachamim can uproot the mitzvah completely, or they can just tell me not to do it. So I've seen some achronim quote from Rabbi Chanan in his sefer, who quotes from Rav Chaim Soloveitchik. There's a major machlokas, the Rambam and the Ramban, the Nechmanides and Maimonides, in terms of the issue of Lo Susser. So the famous sheet of the Rambam is every D'Rabbanan is a Daraisa. This is a share in its own right. But every D'Rabbanan is a Daraisa, because since the Torah told me to listen to the rabbis, so basically and the Ramban says, what are you talking about? We find many Gemaras, Savik Daraisa and Chumrah, Savik D'Rabbanan L'Kula. So perhaps the Rambam will say that's only Midrabbanan. Min Torah, that's a Machokas Rambam Rashba, whether Savik Daraisa or Chumrah, is it Min Torah L'Chumrah, or only Midrabbanan L'Chumrah? But that's how they deal. So that's a Machokas, and the whole Rav Chanan, my nafkamina. Everyone agrees to the facts. The question is what the source is for the Rambam and Ramban, and perhaps what some nafkaminas we could discuss. So either way, there's a famous machokas Ramban on whether every derais is if it's the same or not. So Rabbi Chanan quotes Rav Chaim. Perhaps one way to understand the machokas, there are many ways of understanding it, is how do we view when the Chachamim tell us, let's say we know there's a biblical prohibition to violate Shabbos, and then the many Isurei D'Rabbanans, many rabbinical prohibitions on Shabbos. Same thing with kosher. There's biblical kosher or biblical treif, and there's rabbinical treif. So when I eat treif d'Rabbanan, what am I violating? When I violate Shabbos midrabanan, what am I violating? When I'm violating nida d'Rabbanan, what am I violating? In other words, what they call, is it an isser klali or an isser prati? In other words, an isser prati would mean is that when the Rabbanan said you can't eat this treif d'Rabbanan, so when I eat this piece of treif meat, I violate the isser of eating treif. Well, they say no. It's an isser klali. I have a general rule, mitzvah l'shmo l'divrei chachamim. Whether I violate rabbinic Shabbos, rabbinic nida, rabbinic kosher, it's all the same. And so that's what the Rabbi Chanan quotes from Rav Chaim. So someone has tied it into this nakuda here, that perhaps, the Pri Megadim, those who hold that you can even uproot a mitzvah min Torah, the rabbis can, and if you do the mitzvah min Torah, but not the way the rabbis told you, so the Pri Megadim suggests you not say anything, he's going with the Isser Prati, that once the Chachamim redefine what kosher means, or redefine the mitzvah of shofar, or whatever we're talking about. So if you hold it's an Isser Prati, so that takes on, that changes the character of the mitzvah, then perhaps you could argue then, you're not benching anymore, because the rabbis define what Birkas HaMazon min Torah is, and now by me benching a different way, I'm not benching. But if I hold that this is a general Issa Klali, I have a mitzvah l'shmo l'divrei chachamim, so then there's, so then I don't have to, I don't have to worry about being uprooting the mitzvah min Torah. So that's the many, and the many examples. One more. We'll conclude with Rebbe Chanan. He gets another one. Sadid besitzis. That min Torah, at least according to it's a machlokas in the Gemara, and the way the Svardim paskin min Torah, you only can fulfill your mitzvah if you're wearing a four-corner garment of wool and linen. Shar begadim is only d'Rabbanan. We b'nei Ashkenaz hold shar begadim is daraisa, chutz min ha'or, from leather. So, but according to the Shitas, that only wool and linen are min Torah, so you could have a wool. So what was the ideal? You could have a linen beged and have wool tzitzis, and then you have tchelos on it. You fulfill your mitzvah min Torah. But that's next week's parsha. We'll get into it. Asay docha los asay. Maybe we'll get into the tchelos discussion there. But the rabbi said today that we don't have the techeles, and that's the question whether today we have it or we don't. So we no longer wear linen. We don't wear linen garments anymore, because the concern you wear a linen garment and then you'll wear wool and then you'll violate shatnez. So midrabanan, the rabbis say you can't do it. So the question: let's say someone went ahead and wore a linen garment with wool tzitzis. Would they be chayev makis min Torah? So the Rabbi Chanan discusses, in words, do I say asay docha losas? And what's pshat is a pshat that once the Chachamim say I can't wear that linen garment, so therefore there's no mitzvah anymore. I'm not doing a mitzvah, so I'm just wearing shatnez shalom b'makam mitzvah, so I get makis. But if min Torah is still getting a mitzvah, I'm wearing a linen garment, wool tzitzis. Okay, so I'm violating the Yisur D'Rabbanan, but if I won't get makis because asay doch, so saying Yisod there, Rabbi Chanan clear is when the Chachamim changed the mitzvah and I go back to the original form, do I get the key? In fact, the Minchas Chinuch writes it regarding all the fast days today, because it only says the month. Som Revi, Som Chamishi. So he says, let's say someone picked a different day today. They didn't want to fast on the 9th of Av, they wanted to fast on the 5th of Av, or the 15th, not the 15th, but some other day. So the question is, could you do it or not? So, that maybe there's more room, but he discusses that question. Midivrei Kabbalah, there's no day, but once the Chachamim pick now Tisha B'Av, that's the day. So this Yisod comes, throughout Shas, and it's a fundamental issue when we say the Chachamim have the power Yesh koach b'yachacham l'akor dvar Torah b'shei ve'al taseh. How far did they have? Could they uproot the mitzvah completely and no longer exist? But no, it's just an Isser Gavra. They only tell me not to do it.